I'd like to say thank you for having me, and it's been a pleasure to come today because it's not only going to help me long term, and hopefully I can help you. For those of you that don't know me, I have become a volunteer for Woodwork to Wellness um, over the course of my life. I'll go into a little bit, so I might go off on a tangent. So please rein me back in, Graham. He's going to be horrified. I'm going to do this, but there is a reason behind everything that I'm hoping to say to you. Firstly, um, lifestyle medicine has become an absolutely really important part of my life. I've got quite a few health conditions. Um, Started off with osteoarthritis. I've had a lot of reconstruction surgery. And then in 2019, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And at the time, for me to even speak about fibromyalgia, it still wasn't understood a lot as to what causes it, how to treat it. I've had to try and unravel so much myself because I knew there was something desperately wrong and I needed to understand what was making me feel the way I was feeling. Living alone, trying to manage, trying to cope, and then feeling like a failure when I couldn't do it all. And it closed me down. It really closed me down. And the importance of this is when I've been for my surgery, I'm not saying all the time because there's a lot of great surgeons out there, but I almost feel like they don't see the whole picture. They see the bits that they're channeled into seeing. And for me, that's been a real obstacle in banging my head against a brick wall, needing to feel heard and not misunderstood. And that's been massive. Background wise, I was brought up in a normal, loving family environment. Very close to my mum. My mum was my best friend as well as my mum. And unfortunately, she had an illness. She died in 2021 of fibrosis on the lungs. Interestingly, we've had quite a few in our family that have had autoimmune diseases. We had two with Crohn's, one with my daughter's got systemic lupus. I've got some neurological conditions as well. There's been quite a few in our family with different autoimmune diseases. And going on from that, the one common denominator that I had was that I suffered stress. And it wasn't like people say, oh, I'm a bit stressed. It wasn't like that kind of stress. It was a kind of stress that was exhausting. I can't shake it off. It affected my mood. It affected my pain levels, massively, and it still does. And it's been work in progress to try and understand, okay, how do I switch that round? How do I turn it round? The other thing that's totally changed my life recently is I didn't understand for a lot of years how important it was to me to find my true core, just how integral to my well-being that actually was. And now, oh boy, do I understand it, because I can't go back now. We've opened Pandora's box, unfortunately. And I don't want to go back because it's my true core. So the spirit of self that's come through this, from doing my woodwork to doing my miniatures, which we call Miniature Madness, is and understanding the process of when I'm doing my woodwork, when I'm doing my wood carving, I lose all that pain, all that. I'm not functioning on it. I'm not listening to it being there. It doesn't stop me having the pain, but what momentarily, when I'm at the shed and when I'm doing that wood carving, something in me takes over, which I presume is spirit of self.
I made a note when you were talking that you said, when I'm doing my wood carving, I lose my pain. So the question I had is, with the health professionals in the room, why do you think that is? And if think you alluded to the fact that when you're not doing your wood carving, you have the pain. Why do we think the pain goes? And if this may not be practical, if you were doing wood carving 24 hours a day, would the pain never return? Or after a while of doing wood carving 24 hours a day, maybe for a period of time, and then you stopped wood carving, the pain wouldn't be there.
Right, okay, so I'll try and break that down a little bit for you. When my mum was poorly, and I was actually up there because it was during COVID, so I actually was in the workshop. My dad's got a workshop, so I was in the workshop quite a bit, practicing, you know, with all his, I suppose, tools and machinery, and I was just playing around and learning, and I learned a lot. But I was functioning with that then and doing the wood carving as I needed to escape. I knew what was coming. I knew how bad it was going to be. As I say, my mum and I were very close. She was the most important person that, you know, in my life. The thought of losing her was tipping me over the edge, quite frankly, and had been for quite some time. Felt like I'd let her down in some way of not giving her the last months of her life without worrying herself sick, probably about how it was affecting us as a family and me, myself, because she knew how I was going to be. And I was really bad. So I couldn't see it. And my mum had a very good, quirky sense of humour. She was great. And my granddad. So she'd try and get over it with humour. And I couldn't have that humour because it was so painful for me emotionally. I couldn't get through it. So I was using the wood carving as a substitute to stop my head thinking, to stop the pain of that then. And after she passed away, I think for quite some time, it must have been 12 months or so, I couldn't touch it. I couldn't go near to it. What I've noticed now, it's not just the wood carving, but it's been at the shed in general. If I'm at home on a bad day because my body's just saying, I've had enough, can't, I need to give in, then I will sit. Two things will happen, actually. One, I'm more conscious of my eating patterns and how they go out of sync. And the other thing is that pain's there all the time. It's gnawing at me. By the end of the day, I mean, I'm exhausted now and I'm feeling tired now and hurt. But I'll get the buzz and the high and spirit of being able to get this across, and hopefully I'm doing it in a way that you can understand from a patient point of view how important this is to me. Going back to spirit self as well, and stress and how it affects the body. There's a couple of things that springs to mind in my life of when I lost a lot of weight, and I lost about 5 stone, purely because my stress levels, I couldn't physically want to eat. I just didn't want to eat. So I think for coffee and toast were about the two things that I could get down. And everybody kept coming up to me saying, what's your secret? And I said, stress, you want to try it? You know, but I mean, perhaps that was a bit flippant, but it literally was killing me. I'm pretty convinced what was happening was I was living on fight or flight. So I was permanently in that state of knotted stomach, stressed, couldn't unwind very easily. Looking at life and the way it's presenting itself with artificial foods, not only are you fighting trying to maybe keep your weight down, you're also trying to fight the chemical addiction that you're actually trying to eradicate from your diet. We don't even know half of what we're eating and the damage it's causing. So this is a problem that's from the food industry that need to take note with it. Again, the comfort thing of eating, obviously the fat sugar ratio and sugar being quite addictive. Trying to change people's habitual patterns. And then over the time is to understand my reasoning, why I was eating, why I was finding I need that comfort. What's wrong? I can't put it right. I just don't want to feel like this anymore. You know, so yeah, over the time that took its course. But what I find now is a lot of people don't know how to cook. And then compounded with the problem of not only do they not know how to cook, they haven't got the time in the day. Life has speeded up tenfold for most people. So we're not only trying to cope with the couple of things that we maybe did in a day, we're now trying to deal with so many multitasking things in our day. You know, once you do start to understand the damage you're doing, if you actually weigh it up, half of the time we've got so many transferable skills that we don't even know we've got. We have never recognized them. And that turned my life around as well, in seeing that actually I did have quite a lot of skills that I'd taken for granted for so long and not even associated them as skills. And for me, this journey has been about looking at and tapping into all aspects of life, not just for myself, actually, for other people too, because I help a lot of other people with speaking with them and identifying where they've been very apprehensive and, oh, I can't do that. Well, why not?